you can currently see my chat, can't you?
Let me just go there quickly.
You can see my screen, can't you?
I can see, I just see I see recording has started by the chat. See, I'm saying
Yes,
hi there.
that's
And then
that's
I
fine.
just see empty on the screen, your initials.
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
that's what you'll
Okay.
see at the moment. And I
Yes.
see you have written hi. Will you just
Yes.
add your student number in here
Sure.
because they are very strict about that
No problem.
nowadays?
Double
Okay.
nine, double nine.
Listen,
There we
Candice,
go.
for which module are you registered?
So I'm registered for Economic Management and Sciences higher
Okay.
certificate, right?
No, then
And
you, yeah.
yes, ma'am. You were gonna say then what?
No, then you are in the right place because
Okay,
if you
awesome.
look at the heading, it is ENG 1512, and I am not responsible for that specific module. Was that the module that you struggled with?
No, it was 1503 last semester. So I don't know.
Okay. No,
That is that the correct module?
yes, that's the
Oh,
correct module.
okay.
Um, Candice, to
Yes, ma'am.
reference is a very, very fine science. And did they explain to you how to reference in your tutorial letter?
They did mention it in the tutorial letter, and then because I'm a full-time worker, I couldn't always do live classes. So I would listen to the recorded classes, and then
Yes.
I I made notes to myself, like what to do for when to reference how, and when I did the essay in my last exam, the
Mm.
referencing it really sucked so much so that what happened was they did say that they would supply a tutor to give feedback on the previous examination results on where we went wrong, but then there wasn't anybody given. So when I got the invitation for the ENG 1503, I just automatically thought, okay, maybe what that's the help I'm supposed to get or
To get.
ask, or yeah, because at the referencing stuff was given. It's just probably because I'm not used to referencing in that manner at that academic level, that I really was bad at it, and I was thrown because my English is good, like in terms of the content when I'm
Mm.
writing it, and the
Yeah.
grammar and the spelling and that sort of a thing. And so I was really disappointed in myself because I expected a distinction and I didn't get one. So,
Okay,
mm,
Candice, I'll tell you what. Now, when I
okay,
start sharing the screen, you will
okay,
see because the problem with referencing is that each module more or less has its own way of referencing, because the
yeah,
referencing is linked to how that specific module treats information and previous research. So
okay,
what I would advise you to do is to my email, send the tutorial letter in which they explain the referencing module of your module. Then
okay,
we make an appointment and we have a private discussion on how to reference.
okay. I would appreciate that. To which email
Because
address, ma'am?
I want to explain why I'm so serious about it. But
Yes,
plagiarism, which is incorrect referencing, is seen as intellectual theft in
okay,
any academic institution. So as
right,
you progress and you have to do research for an assignment, you
yes,
might even end up with a final warning if you do not reference correctly. So you are doing
Okay.
the right thing to immediately say, but I need to sort this out. And because it
Okay.
can be such a serious academic transgression, I'll help you.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that very much. I was speaking to one of my classmates, but not for this module, for another module, right? And
Mm.
he does medical papers and he goes
Yes.
over medical papers. So I would like to be an industrial psychologist one day, hence me doing this, you see, this course.
Okay.
And then he explained to me that in his line of work, there's lots of industrial psychologists that is required in his field to go over the papers and approve it, which told me that that means they would need some serious referencing involved over there for
Yes.
published papers. So I don't want to be on the back foot with that.
No, no, and there are also programs that help you with referencing, but
Okay.
with referencing goes insight into quoting correctly, because
Okay.
the punctuation going with the referencing is very important. And
Right.
with that, it has to do with the choice of verbs. For instance, there's a difference between whether you quote somebody who has the opinion that, or who
Okay.
states that, or who claims that. So
Oh,
referencing has to do with certain thought processes to reference correctly. And
yeah.
I'll work with you on that. I think if you're still a first year, it's very early in your academic career, but
Yeah.
rather early than never.
Yes, yes, please, please, I need the help. I appreciate it very, very much. I really do. Oh my word. Okay, ma'am. So which email address? Because I received a meeting request from the CTNTUT at
Yes,
unisa.ac.za. Should I email to that email address? My
this is
tutorial
it.
letter?
Here, city in touch, and then you write directly to me, because sometimes at city in touch,
Okay.
Sibu is very busy, and then he
Okay.
doesn't always send it on towards me.
I understand. So which email
Okay,
address
it's
would
the
I?
one that do you see the screen at the moment?
I do, yes.
Do you see that English for Commerce students? Do you see that
In
screen?
now I see MT, your initials, and then there's a
Oh,
B.
okay. Then I must go back and just make sure, because while I was waiting for you guys, oh, there's somebody else as well.
Mm,
Okay.
two somebodies.
Okay, I've started the recording now, and I want to share that screen with you. Do
Okay.
you see the slides now?
I do see the slides, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's start here, because according to the rules of the university, I need to tell you this. Please keep switch off your video and
Yes.
mute your microphone. Write your student number in the chat. If you have queries, send it to these two emails that I have here, the italyam@unisa.ac.za and CC it to ctintat@unisa.ac.za. Then please, I will post two forms and you must please fill it in at the end. And the session, as I've told you, is being recorded at the moment. So if you stay, you give permission for it to be recorded. Okay. Now the aims of this workshop, because you take first year topics, I quickly want to go through the functions of my UNISA. I want to discuss a bit of time management with you, and then I want to explore learning strategies. What I usually ask students to do, if you have a question as we go along, you will see over here, if you click there, you will see that there is a chat function, and you must please write your numbers in there. I see, Candice, you've done it. Tabu and Bayanda, will you please just add your student numbers to this? And please add it. They might just refuse to pay me if you don't. And then if you have questions, add them, because I'll switch between the slides and here so that we can, and then I answer the questions as we go along. Is that fine with you? Just in future, because I have one more session with you right before the exam. Will it be easier for you if we have this rather at 6:30 till 7 o'clock? Okay, so you would, Candice, you would rather have the a later session then, and the others just okay. Then I'll speak to the office and ask them if we can't make this then a bit later, especially as it gets darker later. It might be easier for you to have the lesson a bit later. Now, if we go to this, in my UNISA, I need to speak to you about my UNISA because we find that many students do not understand the importance of the My UNISA website. If you look on that, there's My Modules, where you will get all your information. Sorry, I just need, because I can read your chats on this one. Now, where do I find the chats? Sorry, I want to have access to the chats. In there I have, there I just need, I was in a very long meeting this morning, so I just need to make sure I am where you are chatting at the moment. Okay. My modules will give you the academic information, and my admin will sort out your problems with payments and information like are you registered and so on. Because you must remember that we also work at a distance. That means that I don't even know what the people in finance look like. I've never seen them. Or if I've seen them, I don't know it's them. Because we work from home. It's not like an ordinary office where we would meet people in the cafeteria or something like that. So when you have a query, it's very important that you go into the right place over here. Also, when you contact the university, it's important that you only do that from your My Life email. Many people have set up their computers not to accept emails from a private email. We do that to protect our our computers against viruses and spam and whatever. When you write to the university an email, it is important that that in the subject line, say for instance, you are querying about a payment, then you have payment query, and then you have your student number in the subject line. Then even if it comes to the wrong person, at least they can forward it to the people looking after that specific batch of students. The next thing is this little thingamabob. It's called an app launcher. Please, if you click on that, you will see, in your case it will look differently because I have of course a different site from you. But then you will have access to all the sites that you need to contact. And that is important because do you see that one with the E? Those are your e-tutors. And it's very important that you get used to working with the e-tutors, because the e-tutor has the ability to give you feedback right through the semester. You only get feedback from the lecturer actually at the end of an assignment. Candice, before everybody joined, Candice spoke about her problems doing referencing correctly. Now, what could have, if she had referenced, tried referencing early in the semester, the e-tutor should have told her, but you need to do it like this or like that. So they can give you feedback on certain problems that you may encounter or that you may not be aware of. And the e-tutor also knows the module very well, so they can help you to prepare properly for the exam. That is very important about my UNISA. Now, my UNISA is also where you will have to work on your signature module, which in your case is SUS, and then I can't remember the number if it's 1501 or 1500. Now, the signature module is often, especially for those of you who have worked on in the private sector and you are used to computers, you think it's very easy. But the signature module is a bit like, I used to coach hockey many years ago. And to get people used to being in a team, you would kind of have all kinds of exercises. And the idea of this signature module is to get you into the habit of working with other students online. So it is your introduction to studying electronically online. It's different if you have been at school or at other colleges or at other universities. We make up a team of people because we work, we see them, we sit next to them in the class, and that way we have interaction. But if you sit at your laptop and I sit at my laptop, we don't have interaction. unless we can communicate. So, and there's something about having to make contact with other people in your field. That's very important. So in the signature module, you will be in a group of about 50 students, and you will receive guidance and support from the teaching assistant who has to look after you. There's also that way, because those of you who had to move between different places of work, every place has its own kind of etiquette. And in a university, we have our own kind of online etiquette. Some people call it netiquette. And it's important that and this is a safe place to learn the good manners of communicating in a university environment. For instance, the rule, I've just given you one of the rules, that when you communicate with the university, you use your My Life account and you use your student number. But there are various other small and interesting ways of communicating, and that is what you need to know. Now, the next thing is that the signature modules should help you to have interaction with your fellow students. And so in that way, you are exposed to connectivism. What would happen is you see a friend, because many of you are on these horrible WhatsApp groups. You tell a friend about how to access Teams, because we get connected to people, or you can ask a question about one of your other modules and somebody tells you. But if you go to the numeracy center, years ago I had to work with the economy students, and some of them really struggled with some of the numeric skills. And because you know about our different skill set levels, you tell them where to get help. So the signature module, the more effort you put into your working with the module, the better it will be in the long term. The different kinds of support offered by UNISA: student funding, NIFSAs. Many of you have access to NIFSAs, and this university under that My Admin ought to help you to connect with NIFSAs if you qualify for funding from NIFSAs. Last night we had a training session, and the lady reminded us that as students you are entitled, you get it actually for free, career guidance counseling, and also counseling for stress or that we otherwise have to pay for. You know, when you see a psychologist. And I know that when we still went into the campus, I often saw meetings of support groups or focus groups. And if you have need of that, you can also I'll go into that on this one. Oh, sorry, it's on this one. Do you see the learner support and regions? And if you click there, you'll be able to see all kinds of support and what we need get from the support. Then for certain modules that they have identified as modules at risk, there are tutorial classes, and if you go to that tab that I indicated now, you will see that there is a tab called tutorial classes, and you can still, even if you haven't enrolled yet, you can still enroll there. And then what you now currently have is an academic literacy class. I have told Candace that I'm prepared to have a session with her on referencing. So if you have a problem, you can write to CT in TUT, and you can also write to me at italian@unisa.ac.za, and we can make an appointment, and then we can have a discussion on Teams, and we can even have a group discussion. If I can't help you, I'll ask Jacques, who is the head of the writing center, who will be able to help you. Because I know in accounting, there's a very good facilitator who helps the students. So I don't know enough about how the modules are structured, but we will work out a way to help you. And then I can't stress enough how important it is to click on the app launcher so that you have access to your eTutor. I also work with the postgraduate students, and what's very, very important is that you get into the habit of writing in an academic environment. The fact that most of you started the lecture gave me the idea, after 5, gave me the idea that all of you are working full time. And there is a difference between writing in the business world and writing academically. And the more you write for the eTutor, the more you develop your academic writing ability. Time management. I think I don't need to tell you anything about time management. But remember, whether you fool around or whether you are working and you have commitment in your community and you study, it doesn't matter. You only have 24 hours in a day. So time management would mean that you take your day and you plan also for those things that is often unplanned. Because it's the beginning of the semester, this week I have 7 workshops in 9 days, but I'm quite an avid hiker. So I am planning my Saturday to take into account that on Sunday I'm not at home for the full day. So plan your social life. nowadays with so little money, um, we aren't treated at work. But if you know that the work will expect of you to work overtime, take that into account. You also can't divorce yourself from your family while you are studying. If you know there's a birthday, a baptism, a wedding, whatever coming up, plan that as part of, see, your studies. I mean, if you have a family wedding coming up, that's not the weekend that you are going to spend on your assignments. The old saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Are there any questions up till now? I still find it easier to go back here. Are there any? Oh, Bayanda, I won't be able to stay this full session since I have another class at 6. I also have commitments later on, so I'll try and work hard to finish the class in time. It's a pity we're in such a hurry because I would have loved to get to know you better, but maybe right before the exam I get to know you a bit better. One way of working with your time is to do an audit on your time. Make a list of how much time, how you spend your time. I have a tablet that I often use, and on the tablet it tells me how much time I spent on the screen. And that was quite a wake-up call to see how much time do I spend simply doing a bit of Sudoku and then a bit of Facebook and whatever. So we can only have one diary because, as I've said, we have only one 24 set of 24 hours. It's important that you distinguish between urgent and important matters. My parents have died, but I still have commitment towards elderly relatives. And that's important. But now in a week like this, where I have to prepare so many workshops, I find that if I do not make time to phone them or at least send a WhatsApp because they're old, I can't visit them at the moment, I leave it be because the workshops are so urgent. And it's a life skill that you need to develop if you want to finish your degree. Because we need to know the difference between the assignment is urgent, but it's also important for me to go to my child's parents' evening. And then, as I've said, if you plan to spend time with your family, you will get the time to spend with your family. I want to do a few learning strategies with you. The importance of the learning strategy, especially in your first and second year of study, is that when you write your final exam to get your degree, when you graduate, much of the information that you have now, they expect you to still remember it, although maybe that isn't taught in that year. So we have special learning strategies, spaced practice, which is good for developing certain skills. Interleaving is when you give yourself time between certain modules so that you can remember the facts a bit better. Elaboration helps you to think outside the box, because as you progress through your academic journey, you will have to think and get make suggestions or propose solutions. Concrete examples help us to understand and apply a theory, and then dual coding really helps us to remember facts much better. Let's look at it in detail. Spaced practice is good for memorization. Say, for instance, that on Monday you read the study guide of Module 1. Then on Tuesday, you do the activities, and the last time I worked with the economic students, they had a chapter, and then at the end of the chapter, they had questions to work through or activities to do. But say, for instance, the first part of your study on Monday, you read through the module and you make notes and you try and understand. On Tuesday, you do the activities from that module. Then you will see how much have you remembered or understood, and you only go back to the module so that you can see those things that you can't remember. And you repeat that. On Tuesday, you do the module 2 and the activities the next day. Do you see the pattern I've evolved here? And then on Saturday, you can have your rest day any day, but Sunday is traditionally a rest day. Keep your most difficult module for Saturday, because then you should have some more time. Really commit yourself to that module and then do those activities on Monday. But do you see that you keep on, if you follow this kind of learning strategy for modules where you have to memorize, and a big part of economy is still facts that you need to memorize, that will help you to remember it much better. The next one is interleaving. That is when you have related skills. And in this case, say for instance that you are working on a module that has to do with cash flow. So you say that for an hour, I'm going to work on cash flow. But the reconciliation exercise, I do spend some time on a reconciliation exercise, and I do a few T accounts. I work on an income sheet. I work on a trial balance, and I work on debt ratios. Do you see, all of these are calculations, but the calculations are done differently in every aspect of this. So I just need to do something quickly here. So do you see that all of these are calculations? But by working on the by doing different kinds of calculations all the time, you don't get bored. I once had to take accounting for six months, and I promise you, I sometimes fell asleep through while doing a trial balance. Accounting isn't my natural way of working. So this is a way of developing skills while you are studying. And in this way, you will actually remember some of the skills. My maths teacher, and I promise you, I had maths in the previous century. My maths teacher followed this pattern with us. We had algebra, and then the next day we had trigonometry, and then again algebra, and then again trigonometry. And I can still remember some math skills from my math days, and I promise you it was a long time ago. So we have space practice for studies that we need to memorize. We have interleaving, where we need to pick up, acquire new skills. And then when we move towards, I need to promote higher order thinking, I need to start telling myself that I can propose a solution. I want you to have a look at this. Can you see somewhere in the studies you learned about food trucks? Now you ask yourself, may a food truck travel on the highway? And that way, because there is quite an economy around food trucks. But do you see, by doing that, you take what you have to study and you move it into your ordinary life and you engage with it while you are studying. You take it into the legal field. How do I register a food truck? When are owners of food trucks liable for paying UIF? And with the current COVID crisis, we saw how important it is to know when we are paying UIF. Sorry, people, I just need to close my door. Why does the undercover cop watch the food truck? I hope you can see here that once we start taking whatever happened in the textbook, if we start applying it like here, do you see that you will be more, it will be a kind of self-motivation. I suppose it's because I was in the humanities and languages. This kind of exercise really worked for me. And it will help you, especially with those modules that you take because you need the degree, you're not really interested. If you try and use this strategy, you might become more interested and more motivated. Then concrete examples. Your modules are often, especially in your first and second year, they concentrate on theories because you need to be able to apply the theories later. Now, the supply and demand, that is a theory that you'll definitely encounter in economics. That's the theory. The law of supply and demand is a theory that explains the interaction between the sellers of a resource and the buyers for that resource. What would be a concrete example of that? Raise your hand if you have an example, and then I'll give you permission to unmute yourself. Can you think of an example? Come on, people, you must have read the book about the law of supply and demand. Yes, Candice, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, ma'am. I'm just thinking, like, because I did study economics a little bit before, and also I do know, and I did business analysis last year, so I know that in order to first find out if there is a demand for something, then a target market research needs to be done firstly, in the form of maybe surveys or questionnaires or interviews. And once that's been established, then a product can maybe be made or a service can be provided in order to match the outcome of what the survey or interview results were, because else you'd waste money. The cost would be wasted if you just make something and don't even know if somebody wants it or not.
Yes, that is an example of applying a theory. Bayanda, do you think can you add to her explanation? Okay, I'll show you my concrete example. I use the example, you can see I'm into hiking. These are mountains in Namibia, and you can only go there actually in autumn. The rest of the time it's either too cold or too hot for 3 weeks. Therefore, the guided tours are very expensive. Do you see that because you can only go there for 3 weeks. So in that time, they can more or less ask whatever they want to, because people will be prepared to pay that because it's such an exceptional place to hike. So if we have little of something, if there are only a few products, people are prepared to pay a lot for that. We saw that during COVID. I should actually have used that. During COVID, people paid far more for their cigarettes and alcohol because there wasn't that much available. So if you have theories, and remember this one about supply and demand, it has all kinds of things, because the way that Candice explained it now has to do with marketing and analysis for marketing and so on. So supply and demand, the theory is applied differently in different modules. And by getting concrete examples, you will remember the theory much better. And that is where your e-tutor comes in. If I had been a student, I could ask the e-tutor, that's the law of supply and demand. This example, does this example show I can apply the theory? Now, dual coding is quite important. Let's look at the theory. When you have, what you now currently have is information is coming in. You are hearing it. Most of it you will have forgotten tomorrow. It's a pity because I'm speaking deep words of wisdom, but you will forget it. If you listen to the recording and you try and apply the learning strategies I have at the moment, it's a kind of rehearsal, but things will fall through the cracks anyway. If you encode it, if you try and make it your own, it goes into the long-term memory and it can be retrieved by the working memory. Now, we spoke about demand, definition, and determinants, and those are all terms in commerce. So at a certain stage, a boy has a desire for a bicycle, but he can't demand it. It's simply a dream. Then he gets money, and now he can say, I want it, because he has the means to buy it. So the desire changed into a want. And now he can go to the shop and demand that the shopkeeper gives him the bicycle because he can pay for it. Do you see that by taking the definitions and making a little story about it, how much better I'm going to remember this than to go back and look merely at the theory. So by taking concepts like this, and it is you make up a story, you have a little picture of it, and that way you can remember the concepts better, and it reinforces the theory that you now understand better. It's 10 minutes past 6. We have more or less finished within the time. Shame the others had to leave. Candice, any questions that you have? You can unmute yourself.
No, thank you, ma'am. You've done really well. Thank you so much. And thank you for allowing me to email you. I did that while we were
Did you do
busy
that?
as well. Yes, I
Okay.
even included my exam paper because they allowed us to download it, before we had to submit our exam, obviously, because it was a 4-part question over 4 days. So I've
Okay.
added that as well. So I appreciate that very much.
Okay, Candice, as you've heard now repeatedly, I am being run off my feet till
Yes, ma'am.
Tuesday evening, but
I
then I'll
understand.
contact you and make an appointment.
It's no problem. I really don't mind because I also attend other classes. So whenever you're ready, I'm a very patient person. I'm just very grateful for the help. And I also want to say that I just realized afterwards, it doesn't really matter when you decide to have the next class because I can just get the recording if I don't make it. And I do know some people are, they have load shedding issues as well. So I don't
Oh,
want it to be
yes.
just about me, it's just whatever is best and suitable for you, and we'll just fit in. And if we have questions, you have made that platform available for us to ask you. So I'm happy for that. Thank you.
Okay. See you next time.
Thank you, Mrs. Dahlia. Take care. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.